Do you like our intro video with Jude and Vinny and Mbappe taking notes tactically? You like that?
I was going to say that's very, very cool intro. Yeah, it makes you realise that the players that Real Madrid have had over the years, unbelievable. Isn't
Yeah. Oh, amazing players. Yep. That's what I want to do. Kind of show off our history, the six Champions Leagues, and also I got to add Trent Alexander-Arnold to that list at some point.
it? Yeah,
But
not quite yet. Not quite yet.
not quite yet. Well, everyone, today we have a very special guest, Josh Williams, who is honestly my favorite Liverpool analyst, one of the top Liverpool analysts in the game. Been following him for many years. He's been on the Anfield Wrap, LFC TV, runs his own Substack. Josh, you want to tell everyone? Some of these people might, Real Madrid fans sometimes just think about Champions Leagues only. They don't know everything outside. If you want to tell everyone about yourself a little.
Well, to be fair, Liverpool fans are a little bit like that as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've been covering Liverpool for a good few years now, and I try to cover specifically, in my opinion, the stuff that matters, and the stuff that matters is not, referees and feelings and emotion and things like that. I focus a bit more on tactics, a bit more on data. I've got a book as well, Data Game, that tells the story of how Liverpool kind of conquered the world of football under Jurgen Klopp, but without putting too much praise on Jurgen Klopp. I just, a bit more of a focus on the story behind it with the owners and Michael Edwards and all that sort of thing. And I'm also on my way to YouTube as well. YouTube is in the works, so that's next on my agenda. But yeah, I like to think that I'm the Liverpool tactics guy, really. So hopefully today I'll live up to that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't realize your book is about data itself, and I love that because I think tactics, data, understanding people, the stories behind who's in charge of what, how they execute, those are the things that matter. And you seem to have the whole picture. Super excited to talk to you about things. And yeah, over here, I always tell our viewers, Michael Edwards is one of our big competitors of Florentino Perez as on the executive level. What he's achieved with your budget is great. And that's where this summer was super interesting because you have this guy who per dollar, per euro, per pound, however you want to say it, took a team so far, was the architect along with Klopp, but especially the way they got Andy Robertson, the way they sold Coutinho, the marginal gains they found with the signings were so big. You go splurge 450 million the summer, you lose Trent, and well, obviously things haven't gone too well to start, and I saw your thing. That one of the things that inspired me to even reach out to you, I saw your clip about how you have a lot of great attackers, but the ball's not getting up to them too much, like last season.
Mm.
Whereas last season you had maybe different attackers, but high volume, but the ball got to them very easily. And how's life been this season? How's this big rebuild gone for you guys?
So far, it's gone very badly, I would say. It's interesting because Michael Edwards is back in the building, let's say, but he's not really running the recruitment. Or I mean, he might be involved with it. We don't really know too much. But the sporting director now is Richard Hughes, who was previously sporting director for Bournemouth. He appointed the likes of Areola. He was involved in getting in Semenyo and Zabani and players like that for Bournemouth. And now certainly last season, they really thrived on the back of Richard Hughes' recruitment over a long period of time. So he's now at Liverpool. His first window consisted of virtually nothing. He signed Federico Chiesa for about 10 million. And he basically said to Arne Slot, your squad is already really good. I haven't been in the building for very long to get my house in order. So just manage this and we'll attack the next window. We'll attack the next summer. And that's definitely what he did. Liverpool spent a lot of money on, lots of really talented individuals, I would say. And it's been compared in many ways to a typical Real Madrid summer, in the sense that tactics have almost been an afterthought. It's been more of a focus on quality, more of a focus on individual level. If you think of the players Liverpool have bought individually, they're all really good players. And I think if Liverpool tried to sell them now, they would be markets for them. Hugo Ekitike, Alexander Isak, Jeremy Frimpong, Milos Kerkez, Giovanni Leone was a really talented up-and-coming player, and obviously Florian Wirtz. So it's a really talented group, but I think the problem that we've encountered this season is if you put them all on the same pitch together, it's difficult to get them all thriving. If you think of Ekitike, Isak, and Wirtz in particular, they all want the same space. And it's similar with Kerkez. Kerkez is pretty close to them as well, wanting a similar space. Frimpong is obviously, we know what Frimpong is like, very high, very wide. Anything else doesn't work for him. So to get them all singing from the same hymn sheet has proved to be difficult so far for Liverpool. And I think the big developments in relation to Trent, one thing Liverpool have become used to over the years is getting progression from their fullback department, not just Trent on one side, but also Andy Robertson on the other side. And they've both come out the team at once, with Trent going to Real Madrid, obviously, and Robertson getting benched for Kerkez, who is talented, but he's only 21 and he's a bit more of a runner, a bit more of a carrier than a passer. So suddenly it does feel a little bit like Liverpool can't quite escape their own half with the same degree of accuracy or ease without Trent just being a bit of a quarterback for the team. Robertson, was no longer passing for the team. He's on the bench all the time. And it's maybe shined a bit more of a light on someone like a Gravenberch, who is not a conventional 6. He's a bit more of an 8, really, in disguise, I think. When you actually ask him to dictate a game and showcase his passing range and things like that, he's not really a natural when it comes to that sort of thing. So maybe that's been highlighted a bit more than it was last season. So lots of little minor problems in there, but initially the focus when Trent announced his departure, the focus was, okay, well, Liverpool can get better defensively then. But that hasn't really happened. We've just got worse when it comes to build-up. So it's a lot. That's just a little example of what we're going through at the moment. There's a lot more. So I've been rambling already for about 10 minutes. So apologies for that.
No worries. I mean, I think we needed to set the stage a little because it's just been a big mess, and I think you spent 450 million, so you needed a few minutes to wade through all that money.
Yeah, very much so.
But yeah, no, good point that they all favor the left half space. Now that you say it, like a little bit, like those 4 guys: Wirtz, Ekitike, Isak, and Kerkez, you're saying, also likes the left half space. You say?
Well, he definitely likes the left, and he definitely wants to be high. I think the problem with Kerkez is and this is what we had with Trent. Trent wanted to be behind the ball. Trent wanted to be looking inside the block, inside the pitch. I think one of the problems you've got with Kerkez is Kerkez wants to be high and wide, and I think if he's playing at his best, he's getting crosses at the byline every 5 minutes. Whereas because Liverpool have so many forward-thinking players at the moment, Kerkez is kind of being asked to play as part of the team safety net, which is not really his profile. You should have just bought a centre half, like a Schlotterbeck or someone like that from Dortmund, a profile of that type, someone like a Joshko Gvardiol or
Timber,
Calafiori, maybe, someone like that. But Liverpool have went and signed an overlapping fullback who wants to be high, and he's getting used in deeper areas because somebody has to. So yeah, it's very unbalanced, I would say.
Yeah, and it's interesting. And on the flip for us, I think what we're trying to get used to is with Trent. I guess I'll just briefly touch on his start to life at Real. So Trent, the defense is interesting because a lot of the conversation when he signed is around his defense. A lot of Liverpool fans were very angry at him, and so the easy thing to do was just start acting like you never liked him or his defense was bad, how you're going to move on from him. There's just so many threads on social media that are going to happen, and fans also are just emotionally upset because Trent is homegrown. Now, I knew he was great, and then I really looked through some more of the stats, and I realized how great he really is. Like, no individual player has ever accounted for that much progression for a great team, in my opinion, before, like that. For a team that great, I don't think it's ever that much volume, that distance of progression. It's a lot of work. I don't think it's not as easy as like one touch long distance passing as he made it look for most players. And at Real, I think he started very shy and timid because one, Slot made those comments about his defense. He told Xabi Alonso that he should focus on defense better. like that he wish he did more. And so Trent's come here. He started really defensively focused, like making sure he's not a liability one-on-one at all, tackling guys. But on the other end, on offense, we've never had midfielders. I don't like, you've had some good players the last few years, but when you had Henderson and Milner and Trent was playing like then, our midfielders are usually taking more responsibility. Our like, I'm sure you remember, like the percentage of giveaways Trent was allowed to give away is high. Like he's allowed to make less accurate reads because all the risk flows through him. And so he's allowed to make the turnovers. We need Vinicius to make some turnovers. We need Mbappe should make some turnovers. Like we need some creative license to be given around the team. And not only that, like when Marcelo and Carvajal played, they were the main difference with the way we've used our fullbacks, or even Barcelona versus Trent, is they wouldn't lose the ball as much. They were high volume progressors who kept it. Trent is a little riskier. And so you need to be able to account for the way you lose the ball and attack the second balls in the box. And Trent, I believe, has been extremely shy. A report came out that even the people around the club believe he's going to take time to get going. He's been shy. He's only had a couple games where he's really been expansive, and his technique is there. We know it. We can see it. But he's been shy, and I've been clamoring personally on this show, like, hey, Alonso, unlock Trent, because I think our ceiling depends on him. Because while our midfielders, in my opinion, are far better technically than Henderson and Milner, I do believe there are still some ways away from the Kroos and Modric days. We have some technical talent lacking. But with that being said, we got the guys who like playing behind the ball. Dean, Trent, Carreras, Alvaro Carreras. We kind of had the summer with Dean and Carreras were the profiles you guys could have used, like players who like playing behind the ball. But yeah, that's kind of how he started at Real. And any thoughts on that? Just how shy he's been? How does that track with the Trent you know?
Well, just quickly, we actually targeted Dean Huijsen with Liverpool. We're trying to get him in. I'm not sure if it was as a replacement for anybody necessarily. I'm not sure if Liverpool still would have went and targeted Leone, who is 18 years old himself. But Huijsen would have made a huge difference to Liverpool on the ball. Just such a natural progressor of the ball, really forward-thinking, really brave. So that was an unfortunate loss for Liverpool. I think in terms of Trent at Real Madrid, yeah, I'm maybe a little bit surprised that he's been shy on the ball, because he started relatively safe when he started playing for Liverpool at the start. But you honestly, I think he was 16, so you're going to be shy at that age. You know, that's relatively normal. But it didn't take long. You know, by the age of 17, 18, Trent was showcasing his ability on the ball. So I'm a little bit surprised about that. But it's interesting that you mentioned the turnovers and things like that. This is kind of the problem with Trent. Maybe he's just unorthodox compared to your typical fullback. So you mentioned about turnovers. He does tend to lose the ball about 25% of the time when he's on it. About 75% pass completion usually. And again, he's playing as a fullback. So if he's trying things, if he's constantly crossing things, you almost have to be in a position to carry Trent to maximise what he's good at. Like Liverpool at their absolute best had Ibrahima Konate to his left, who can cover serious ground, good at running the channels, great 1v1. And he had Jordan Henderson slightly in front of him, who again is just like an absolute marathon man, who's really disciplined, really vocal, proper leader. So Liverpool had that dynamic, and I think Liverpool bought Konate knowing that Trent was such a key member of the team. So, but from like a national team level, you know, no English national team manager really has had an interest in using Trent. If you think of Southgate and now Thomas Tuchel, and I think that's because, just generally speaking, he does require that tactical protection, and it's okay giving him that if he's worth it. And Liverpool's makeup a few years ago, when they had that midfield department that was just really, you know, aggressive and not particularly fancy, Liverpool were in a position to protect Trent that way. So it's going to be interesting looking at, you know, what he does for Real Madrid, if Real Madrid are fully willing to unlock him. Because if you unlock him, to unlock him, you have to kind of make accommodations elsewhere. If you just let everyone play, if you just let everyone just make out that he's an ordinary fullback, it's not really going to work. So I am curious to see, how that dynamic shifts and whether Real Madrid and whether Xabi Alonso truly leans into what he's capable of. Because on his day, especially on the ball, he is outrageous. He is unbelievable on the ball. I think he's I used the term quarterback before. I think I haven't seen a fullback like Trent before, personally. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not even arguing that he's not going to be that. I think he'll get there for us. I think we bought it. We didn't pick him up thinking we're going to not accommodate for him. That was understood. Like Ederman Towers next to him. Fede Valverde is playing right back, but actually he is the closest thing to Jordan Henderson on our team. A little Rolls Royce version of Henderson, maybe better on his day, but then prime, like a little juiced up, a little better career, but still ending up into more of the Henderson archetype as he ages, more of a role player. And I would say, in that sense, we are going to accommodate for him. It's just the main difference is that when Danny Carvajal returned from injury, Carvajal understands a little bit of the Spanish give and go a little better than Trent. Trent, I've seen him even for Liverpool. There was give and go. It was a little more programmed, a little less Spanish, so to speak, a little more specific for the Liverpool program and what they need. And whereas the Spanish one can be very typical, lots of side-to-side combination play that's just expected as a way to open the block up. And that's where I think he's still learning it. And I think the shyness is just because I think he's somewhat aware of that dynamic of if I can't turn it over the way I did elsewhere. He hasn't played much, but just statistically, interestingly, Football Reference only has 290s from this season because he played the Club World Cup. But even here, you can see his pass accuracy is up to almost 80%. So he's just like playing it a little more safe, learning his spot. The other thing is like in the Club World Cup, we played Gonzalo Garcia, our tall target man. But normally we don't play with a target man. And it's a very short team. We're not it's not as simple as like I know Firmino, Mane, and Salah weren't the tallest players, but you guys had a way to crash the box. We're not quite there yet, and therefore Trent hasn't created. But with that being said, Jude is his good friend on the team, and I think Trent to Jude is actually a connection we want to see, the crossing. And it's just funny because Jude comes in and he just screams and does everything he wants. Trent's like his shy friend, and he's older, so I was just like, hey, come on, like you have Jude's right here, like look, like come on, like be part of the team. And he's just been shy, just a little. But I think it's just the aura of the team, and I mean he's lost 2 finals to us. Maybe he doesn't want.
I think it's interesting. I think if you look at his profile as a player, though, I think he's easy to misunderstand almost. Like when I said before that I haven't really seen anyone else do it. Sometimes people compare him to Marcelo or Dani Alves or Cafu or Roberto Carlos. For me, those are all completely different type of fullbacks to Trent. Trent is more of a playmaking type, a quarterback. Again, I keep using that term, but the idea of like a give and go or an overlap or whatever, it's not really his game. He's not really much of a runner at all. He's not like a 1-2 kind of guy really. And one thing I don't like, one thing I've always been against, and it's interesting to see if Alonso's. I think there's been bits playing with it. Is you look at Trent and you think, right, he's really offensive. And you think, right, he's not really particularly good at defending then. So the easy, low-hanging fruit answer is to play him as a wing-back and to play a back 3 behind him. But the idea of that, I've never really liked. In theory, it would allow him to play high. In theory, it would allow him to have an extra centre-half behind him. I understand the logic, but I just think when I think of a typical wing back, I think of, up and down the flanks all day. And I think of a lot of the time you are playing ahead of the ball and you're predominantly a runner. I think Trent really benefits when he has time and space to lift his head, look into the pitch, find not necessarily a target man, but runners, players who want to threaten him behind. I would assume he would get on really well with Mbappe for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. Bellingham maybe with that box crashing. But yeah, he's not your typical just attacking fullback. There's a lot more to him. than that.
Yeah, no, totally. And so far, I would say that we actually haven't played him too far ahead of the ball. I think the main thing is when I refer to the give and goes, I mostly refer actually in the first phase when teams kind of corner us, where you don't always want to play the hero ball in the first phase. Second and third
Yeah.
phase, I would say we've been second, third phase build up. We've been comfortable actually not pushing him too high, and there have been instances where we've seen that Alonso gets it. Like he plays a little more in the right half space. He's making those switches of play to the left wing a lot with ease, playing like amazing passes down his flank. I can't wait to see the best of him. But yeah, it's I think just for me, I'm just wondering how soon it'll happen. Like we have Arda Güler, a very young Turkish player. He releases the ball very quickly through to Mbappe's feet in the second phase. So they've been kind of letting Mbappe and Güler figure it out, kind of getting Vinicius's role sorted first. And with Vinicius, we have some contract issues. So the team's probably like, listen, Trent, you're happy here. You just signed. You're just happy to be here and getting used to things. Like this is like your Mbappe season. Even if it goes bad, you're gonna forget about it and be good. We got some other things to figure out, like why Vinny's mad at us, our 2-time Champions League winner, who actually cooked you in the 22 final, if you remember. But
I do remember. Yeah, thanks for that.
not that I'd say cook. Listen, it's just a funny play, that one, because Trent actually does most things right, and Vinny's just slightly faster in speed of thought and speed burst. Not much you could do.
It's funny though, because you mentioned Vinny, and I had similar thoughts on the whole Vinicius Mbappe dynamic as I do now on a lot of what Liverpool have done, where you in theory you have signed good players on paper, but getting them to work together as opposed to getting in each other's way. You know, I thought Real Madrid would have that problem with Vinny and with Mbappe. So I'm curious to know how that one's working out. Obviously, it doesn't sound like Vinicius is sounding like he's particularly happy. I just curiously as well, out of interest, so are you using a back four mostly then, or is it similar to Alonso's Leverkusen stuff?
So right now we're going back four. It is a back four, and a lot of times it's with Mbappe up front and Vinny's high and wide on the left. And with them, matchup dependent, it's been more 4-3-3 with someone on the right, like our new young right winger Franco Mastantuano from Argentina. Alonso has given the team a hierarchy, what Ancelotti didn't do. So Carlo would mess up by not like Carlo, just when the new signing comes in after Champions League winning year, he just like kind of lets everyone figure it out. He's just like, I'm not going to let the new signing go and like carve out a space for you. So, but at the same time, Vinny started the year with Carlo a year ago so well that we started doing weird things like playing Mbappe on the left and Vinny up front. And Mbappe was like, without a preseason, Mbappe was in the worst form of his life, like for years, in 7 years. And so he looked completely off, getting fed everything on a plate and missing. And it looked like we over accommodated him. Then in December or January, Mbappe hit form and Vinny was getting hurt on and off, and the Ballon d'Or situation happening in October. Slowly between that and like contract negotiations not going the way he wants, Vinny's form went up and down. And I would say a lot of it though was on the fact that once you added Mbappe, the pressure was on the team off the ball to like play better defensively, and we were just a mess, and that frustration was leading into very rushed play on the ball and hero ball. But to be honest, the years under Carlo, I mean, you know this, like when you like you guys outplayed us like in that final, but we were not as good as the results suggested in the Champions League. We beat teams better than us. We beat teams that were more consistent, minute to minute, half to half, game state to game state than us. But we were just incredible when we went down. And, losing Cruz and adding Mbappe only heightened that tactical dynamic of Carlo would fling shit at the wall and see what sticks. Carlo is like, he is an old coach at the end of the day. And that's why we're so unpredictable. And that's why we would play these simple blocks that you could maybe not break. But in league play, we were very inconsistent. And to be honest, like the whole dynamic was off last year is what I mean. This year, the main difference is now Alonso is like actually implementing a system more like Zidane did, where he is worried about when you lose the ball. You can't have unlimited turnovers in your offensive system and hope to have a system that makes sense on defense. You need something where you introduce constraints. So he's made Vinny a one-on-one guy. His progressive receptions have went up, but his distance of carrying has went down. And Vinicius, in my opinion, is looking better, even with the weird contract situation and the fight, like the whole reaction you saw in the Clasico. He's looking good as far as like every time he goes one-on-one, he's looking dangerous again. And Mbappe is playing as an off-ball runner a lot more. He's not like, whereas last season it was too much interchanging, confusion over who's creating for each other, who's not. And now with that said, I will say, and yeah, and I guess around that I'll just add Goulet has been the guy who's kind of threading the balls through, and he's setting up Vinicius for one-on-ones or Mbappe. So he's brought in the playmaking. Our belief is essentially that we are a little light on press resistance outside in our team. Like when they all work hard, it's good. Like Chouameni is good. Camavinga's elite in big games, but sometimes he struggles with the weighting of his pass in small games. A bit like Gravenberch, you could argue. And then Camavinga, and then you could say Jude is very good again at threading the needle. Maybe sometimes doing very slower combinations against smaller teams, not his preference. That's where Trent and Goulet, I think, are the keys. And Trent, we haven't seen. Trent statistically just pops through the roof. Like any measures, you look at like on-ball value, he's one of the highest ever of any player in terms of goal probability he's added to any team. And we know he can be that guy for us, where if you add one more Arda Güler, we feel like we've replaced our Kroos and Modric. So yeah, I guess it's been more about A, the coaching, and B, who's the next conductor to replace Kroos and Modric. And I believe Dean Huijsen and Carreras are good, but when you also bring in Goulet is really good, but Trent's that one final piece that I think completes it. But even without him, we've won every game but one this season, even with Trent hardly integrated. So that should tell you it's going pretty well. Also, lastly, the underlying numbers are up. I just want to emphasize, like if you've paid attention to our like expected points, expected goal difference, it's been pretty bad last 4 years. It's not like vintage three-peat Real Madrid. By any measure, we're worse. But yeah, I would say our Galactico approach. With that being said, I am a fan of the talent approach. I just want to say, I don't know if you have any closing thoughts on Real, but I have a question to ask you.
Well, I have two thoughts. So number one,
Yeah,
Arda Güler is now a starter. Is he playing every week?
He's at starting level. He has like over 10 goals and assists, like 12 or something already. We're in October.
Does he? I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Oh yeah.
I suppose number two, one of the issues I've always had with the idea of a Galactico recruitment policy, and I'm seeing a little bit of it now with Liverpool, is if you sign Mbappe, you've already got Vinicius, and we know what Trent is like. Those three players in particular, to me, don't really defend. So how are Real Madrid absorbing that, and are they absorbing it, or are they conceding goals? I mean, if you're winning every week, I assume the defense is good.
Yeah. We're starting by. That's why he's controlling the ball losses, because we're just not trying to play a turnover based game, and the technical level is still high enough to keep the ball out with Dean Huijsen, Alvaro Carreras circulating it from the back. Chouameni's no complete bum. Like people like to make fun of him. Fine, he's not like Pedri, but that doesn't mean he's bad. And and so basically he control how and when we lose the ball, and that's why Vinicius has to be kind of anchored to the left and told what situations in which he can lose it more. And yeah, it's been defense first. If you watched El Clasico, Mbappe is running his socks off. Like there's a persuasive element when you play for Real Madrid that stars accept more. The same as happened with Trent, he's defended better I don't know how he was defending last year. From what I've gathered, especially after like you guys were out of competitions, it may not have been the best. He over here actually, there's been zero complaints. It's kind of funny. Like he's just like he's like a nervous school kid almost, just making sure he impresses the teacher.
That's a good version of it. To be fair, that's healthy.
And I will say one more thing about him. Like I said, Alonso understands not to put him too far ahead of the ball. So it's different to Marcelo. We dealt with Marcelo for many years, with Sergio Ramos kind of taking a lot of the blame with the mistakes he'd make for covering for him in a very high line or having to step up. Here, I think one reason I'm excited to see how we go about it with Trent, and I think again it comes back to setting up a few automatic plays for him, set plays in the training ground that he knows he can be aggressive in, and kind of giving him the triggers to release those, but making them at a frequency where it's comfortable for the team, where he's not losing the ball all the time. And I think that's going to be the most important thing, because defensively, he's going to be behind the ball. Marcelo would always be high and wide. We're playing a little more stationary because Mbappe is so fast. You don't need to always occupy the last line. You can just send Mbappe, and Vinny will break that last line no matter where it is, how it is.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's lots to consider in there. Like, I mean, some of the players that you've went and signed, Liverpool could actually do with. And to be fair, Liverpool have signed top players, but they're not necessarily passengers on the defensive end. Like Florian Wirtz does work really hard. Alexander Isak works really hard as well. But they're not specialists without the ball, if you get what I mean. So, especially in the Premier League, it's, sometimes Liverpool are suffering from a bit of a dodgy vest defence or set pieces in particular in England at the moment is crazy. So, yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, so on that note, I do think there are differences between our Galactico approaches. I want to say the one being, I think in general, yeah, you want to make sure each player is 99th percentile. So I guess you guys really only went after maybe 3 Galacticos in that sense. Kerkez and Frimpong were just fullback signings, you could say, weren't Galacticos. But
yeah,
you have Wirtz, Isak, and Ekiteke. And I guess, I mean, I actually kind of agreed with the approach. I'll just say off the bat, in the sense that I was looking at it and I'm like, just play one of Wirtz or Isak every week, Ekiteke or Isak, play one of them every week, and you'll dominate. But obviously, Isak is looking completely surplus to requirements. And I will say, when you go look at his underlyings, he is good, but he did kind of like, man, there was a little bubble around his name maybe in the summer, and that like Ekiteke is better, I think, in the box. That much is clear now. But with that being said, my point is, I feel a little Ronaldo Benzema when I see them. Like they could play together, they could dominate. But yes, you need everything around them to be really good for that to happen. And I think like it was obviously seen as a 2-year rebuild, but in general, like with the Galactico approach, I think it works best when you can actually get your guy. And so for us, like when we got Chouameni, we get Trent, we get Mbappe, Jude, it looks good. There is no plan B for those guys.
yeah.
I think the main thing to keep in mind with that approach is if you don't get your plan A, we do say no or wait till plan B, as for years we waited for Mbappe and it was risky. But I guess I'm kind of, in hindsight, the only one I would change is Isak. I think is the big one there. What do you think?
No, I think to be fair, Isak, I think is virtually guaranteed to be a success. I think he's absolutely brilliant. But the problem is, to get out of Newcastle, he had to be a problem for them, which meant he didn't train all summer. So when he gets to Liverpool, he's not fit. So the problem that we've encountered is you spent more on Isak than Ekiteke, but starting the season, Ekiteke has looked brilliant and has scored in pretty much every game, whereas Isak, who is the actual big ticket item, looks rusty and not quite ready. But to get him ready, you have to play him. So what's happened is Isak has been playing in the Premier League with Ekiteke on the bench, when in reality it should be the other way around based on form at least. But you've just spent 130 million on Isak, so you need to play him to get him to a point where he can start delivering for you. So, and to be fair as well, I will throw out there, I am not sure that Liverpool sign both if Diogo Jota doesn't tragically pass away in the summer. So Liverpool were left, without Jota, without Nunes, and without Diaz. Those are the 3 players that occupied the number 9 spot for Liverpool last season. So there was a bit of a need, I think, to go and sign 2 of them. But I think the weird thing about it is they are just kind of clones a little bit. They're very, very similar. So you can't really play them both at once. Or maybe you can, but I think there's a bit of conflict there because they both want the left channel. They both like to drift out wide towards the left. They're both tall, silky, with similar pace. I think Ekiteke is probably a little bit quicker. But I think that's the problem. I think Liverpool have went and signed Ekiteke for 80 million. Isak for 120, 130 million. And because of those fees, and especially because of Ekitike's form, there's an emphasis on slot to play both. And that you've still got Mo Salah in the building as well. So you need a wide player in the system. So you can't really play a narrow diamond with a front 2 because where does Salah play? So I think one of the reasons Isak was signed was to protect the club against Salah's eventual departure. I think Salah maybe will go at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And if Salah goes every season, Salah guarantees like 30 goals every single season. So Liverpool needed to get in another starter to pick up that load. And I think the idea was play them together in the meantime. And I thought that would go well, but so far it looks like nobody's benefiting.
Yeah, I think we actually had a similar situation with Isak with Gareth Bale when Daniel Levy made us wait the whole damn summer 2013.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was similar. Like Bale didn't play till like 6 weeks in, and he was off on and off. First half of the season, none of the big games looked good when Bale and Ronaldo played. There was pressure to keep them on the pitch because they're the big names. But at the same time, Bale took the whole summer off so he could leave Tottenham. Same thing. And I think I think the big thing a lot of people are talking about, I'm curious, is Arne Slot not like you think he's maybe not being aggressive enough in hunting results? You think those first few wins where you guys just played bad and won kind of got him thinking he could get away with stuff, and then it's kind of a reality check? Because Ekiteke, the easy solution is just play Ekiteke till Isak figures it out. It sounds, because Ekiteke is the one who looks really good. A lot of people say he might be the best striker in the world, or like he's right there with any striker in terms of just how he looks, speed, athleticism. Really, the athleticism stands out just watching him, his feet, how quickly he gets shots off. And I'm not sure how they work together. It's funny because actually I think if Trent is there, they work really great. And I feel like if you had a Trent, it would all be fine as well. And it's just a question of finding the guy who gets the ball to their feet all the time.
Yeah, I think with Slot, I think one thing I would say is he's maybe struggling because he's got so many mini projects to manage at the moment. So in addition to obviously getting results, he's also got to integrate a good few new players, and the players Liverpool have signed, all of them realistically could be starters. And I think the only one who probably arrived at the club knowing that he wouldn't be a starter is Leone. But Frimpong could realistically have thought he was Trent's replacement. Kerkez, Wirtz, Isak, Ekitike, maybe you could argue at the time Isak wasn't in the building though, so maybe Ekitike arrives thinking he's going to play as well. So I think from Arne Slot's perspective, he has felt an onus to use his players, and the players maybe from last season or whatever have maybe been cast aside a little bit. I think with hindsight now, looking back at what we've seen so far this season, I agreed with a lot of what he's done at the time. But I think looking back now, you could argue he maybe should have started the season with Robertson still as the starter and Kerkez takes over gradually. I think he maybe should have started with Ekitike as the number 9 and taken a bit longer to integrate Isak in like the Champions League and the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup and things like that. Take longer with that, be a bit more patient with that. And I think with Florian Wirtz, I want him to play in the middle, but I think you could have started the season with him on the left, with Szoboszlai as the 10, just like last season. And then as Wirtz gets to know the league and he gets more confidence and things like that, Liverpool look confident and assured, then maybe you gradually move Wirtz to the number 10 spot and you go from there. But he's changed quite a lot at once.
How's Wirtz looked? Obviously, you hear a lot. I've seen some of the footage. He's getting used to the space-time available in the Premier League. He's used to the Bundesliga. And honestly, the players who come from the Bundesliga, if they're less athletic, Sancho wasn't the most athletic. It can take time, and you might need the right team and platform. And my personal thought is that Wirtz should move deeper. Like if it's a more challenging game in the final third, you're going to find similar game scenarios, maybe more in the middle third, and you have to adapt your game more, maybe move 10 yards deeper. I don't know. Is that a solution? And what's been going on with him, you think? Or you think it's just, you think he's rusty? What's going on?
Well, he's a really unique player to start with. I think last season we kind of played with a number 10, but he was also kind of like a number 8 really as well, and his main job was to protect Mohamed Salah. I would say he was always close to Salah. He was, Salah doesn't really defend, so Szoboszlai was covering Salah quite a lot. And then you move towards Wirtz, who will cover Salah less, and on top of covering Salah less, he will move a lot more. Wirtz is always moving, always moving. I wouldn't say that's a bad thing, but it's something that you've got to get used to. I would say one of his biggest strengths, certainly based on his time in Germany, is receiving the ball in tiny little spaces and, using it really nicely and things like that. I think we've seen shades of that, but there's also been times where he's maybe underhit a pass, or he's took too long on the ball and he's been robbed, or he's been leading a transition and he's played the wrong pass, or things like that. So I think the concern for me is Florian Wirtz has been in Florian Wirtz situations at times and hasn't really used them. That's where the disappointments have stemmed from for me. But I also think, generally speaking, because of how unique he is, he's the kind of player that Liverpool, that his teammates are having to get used to. And I also think for him to look really good and for him to play his normal game, his team has to have control over the pitch. Bayer Leverkusen had a lot of control under Xabi Alonso. Liverpool had a lot of control in Frankfurt, and he played very well. Liverpool had a lot of control against Burnley away. I would say he played well in that game too. But in the games where it's been a bit more basketball, he hasn't played quite as well. But I think early in the season, he was maybe painted as the scapegoat, and he was painted as like, that's why we're not playing well. He's the problem. Slot takes him out the team against Man United and against Chelsea back to back, and we lose both games with Wirtz on the bench. So I think we've come full circle now, and I think a lot of supporters now have realised, okay, I don't think Wirtz is the problem. Actually, I think there's other stuff going on here.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like a player who it's kind of like Rodri. Rodri's not going to look great in basketball games. Like his team needs to play a certain way. Zubimendi can look good defensively, but Zubimendi is someone who's going to exert an influence over the game. Seems like Liverpool's ability to control the game is the worst of Man City, Arsenal, even Real, a lot of the top teams right now. Like you guys, we were at the bottom of the barrel last year of all the top teams at controlling games. But now you guys have probably taken that mantle. Let's see. Oh yeah, one question. You mentioned Richard Hughes. So like Richard Hughes is the director, but isn't like Michael Edwards still like a big influence? How has that changed? Didn't Edwards not lead your old big transfers, and did he not build that whole team, and is he not the one who's really in charge now?
So Edwards was key to building Klopp's initial team. For example, I don't know if this is known, in Spain and like that, but there was a moment when Klopp really wanted Julian Brandt, and Edwards and his data guys convinced him that Salah was a better purchase, and Klopp was willing to change his mind, and he said, okay, I trust you, and the rest is history. So Edwards was key to recruiting a lot of those players, but over time, and I think COVID had a big impact on this as well, there was a little bit of agitation, a little bit of conflict between, recruitment decisions and things like that. And Edwards eventually gets to a point where he no longer wants to be a sporting director. So he kind of quits, basically, he kind of resigns. And gradually, in the 12 months that follows, all of his boys, all of his associates follow him out the door, basically. David Woodvine, Julian Ward, I'm sure Ian Graham leaves as well. So it was a gradual departure, and it was a bit of a sea change, with Klopp almost becoming a bit of a sporting director, weird, a kind of bit of a throwback, and Pep Linders was almost coaching the team a little bit. And and that was how the dynamic shifted a little bit. But when Klopp then leaves, FSG need to find a way home, a solution. So they naturally went to Michael Edwards and said, "Will you come back?" He said no. He said no to everyone as well. He said no to Chelsea. He said no to a few other clubs. So the job that he eventually accepted was a job where he is not the sporting director. He's above the sporting director, and he technically works for FSG, not for Liverpool. And it's his job to kind of FSG are interested at the moment to buy a new club, to buy a club in Spain or a club in Portugal or something. So Edwards is involved with that sort of thing. He appointed Richard Hughes. They were really good friends, they're colleagues once at Portsmouth a few years ago. So he appointed Richard Hughes to be the sporting director. You buy the players. That's not my job anymore. So that's kind of where we're at now. But I think in the summer just gone, because of the number of deals Liverpool did and the level of the deals as well. I think Hughes did some of it. I think Edwards might have done some of it. Julian Ward is also back now. I think he's done some of it too. So that's kind of where we ended up. But apparently, according to his role and things like that, I don't actually think Edwards is particularly involved with Arne Slot day to day. I think that's Richard Hughes' job.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just asking because you guys are you in for the same players as us, because the truth is the truth. The best player at a position is the best. I think you guys are among the most. And PSG now are annoying. They kind of go after some of the same players too. They've kind of figured out the best players are the same everywhere. I
think Liverpool have initially under Michael Edwards couldn't really compete for those players though. So it's interesting that Liverpool have now reached the point where they're regarded as like a giant again. So Liverpool can now compete for these players. So Edwards signing the likes of, I don't know, Andy Robertson a few years ago, or even someone like a Sadio Mane maybe from Southampton. Liverpool don't technically have to do as much of that anymore. Liverpool can just shop it in the top market. But it's interesting to think about whether Edwards would be doing that, or whether this is a huge thing, or whether it was the plan the whole time for Liverpool to eventually get to this point. It's interesting, but it's not very Moneyball. And Liverpool were painted like that kind of club a few years ago.
Yeah, no, it's not Moneyball at all. And no, you definitely need more Moneyball signings this coming summer. It looks like, after you spend all that $450 million. But what are your Premier League hopes looking like? Obviously, you're just trying to get to next summer, probably sell Salah to Saudi or something. How you think top four? I think I saw you say something about you guys are definitely finishing fourth or fifth or something.
I would take fourth right now. I don't think Arsenal are any of our business at the moment. I think they are just much steadier, much more consistent. So, and there's already a gap as well between Liverpool and Arsenal. So
and you beat them, and there's a gap.
Liverpool beat them. So I don't think Liverpool can compete for the Premier League title this season. Hopefully Liverpool will finish well in the Champions League. I think the Champions League I think we've got a bit more hope in that one, because teams, I think, are less likely to go fully direct, and teams won't use set pieces and long throws as much as we're seeing in the Premier League. Obviously, if Liverpool buy Frimpong, Kerkez, Wirtz, they're not particularly equipped to deal with aerial balls all the time. So we've kind of got worse at that sort of thing, and the Premier League's got a bit more interested in that sort of thing. So it's gone the wrong way, that, for Liverpool. But when we played Frankfurt kept the ball on the floor, trying to build from the back, and Liverpool beat them 5-1. And it was really easy. But then a few days later, we played Brentford and we got beat 3-2. So in the Champions League, maybe Liverpool will look a bit more like themselves. But in England, I hope we finish fourth.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That's interesting to hear. Is Ibrahim Konate is a big topic of discussion at Real Madrid right now, and
Mm.
the rumors that I've heard are that he just doesn't feel like his wages and recognition are like like he feels like Van Dijk steals a bit of the spotlight maybe, and maybe he wants bigger and better contract that he won't get at Liverpool. But the feeling is that we might get him, and he's at a contract impasse. Any thoughts on that? How's he looking?
Well, it's interesting with Canate because apparently Canate isn't. Apparently, he's not in the same category as Trent in that Trent just wanted to leave. Trent wanted to go to Real Madrid. Canate, the way it is, he would actually stay and he would be happy to stay if Liverpool were willing to pay him what he wants. I've got no idea what he wants. I don't know what he wants. But I think there's a conflict there with that one. So it's a confusing situation to be in. He's had a bad start to the season, I will say that. He keeps just randomly shooting himself in the foot. Basically, he keeps just making random mistakes out of nowhere. But on his day, I am higher on Canate than the typical Liverpool fan, I think, because generally speaking, he's got all raw materials to be just brilliant. He's absolutely massive. He's really, really fast. He's good in the air. He's becoming more and more vocal. I think his ability on the ball is downplayed a little bit. I don't think he's anywhere near as bad as people suggest. I think he should score a lot more from set pieces. He gets headers, he just doesn't score them. If he added that to his game, he'd be even better. And he's a good age as well. So he's used to playing in a high line and everything. So I would really like to keep him. I think if I was Real Madrid, I probably would go for him. I think he's ideal to play next to Trent as well. But it's curious to me as to why, if the reason is Liverpool don't want to pay him, I'm really interested to know how much he wants. Because I would happily pay him as long as it's not stupid, as long as it's not outrageous.
Yeah, totally. Just he looks like his injury history's cleared up a little, so will be interesting if we get him.
Well, that's an interesting line. Like since Arne Slot came in, it's been a bit of a different story with the injuries. Under Jurgen Klopp, he was injured all the time, so maybe it's a method kind of thing. Slot obviously, it's benefiting him whatever he's doing now.
Yeah, definitely. Any predictions for the game? Oh yeah, I guess like one dynamic I've heard like is Curtis Jones like very key to your team is like I've heard he might be the best right back for you or what? Like what's the keys to the game?
Not so much right back. I think Szoboszlai's been doing bits at right back at times, but I would say Curtis Jones. He's actually injured at the moment. I think it's only a little one, but he came back into the team against Frankfurt, the 5-1 win, and he was brilliant in it. He just, I think he completed more passes in that game than any Liverpool player ever has in a Champions League game. So he offered a lot of control for Liverpool. He was great when it comes to pressing as well. He played against Brentford a few days later, and I think he was one of the better players too. And he's one of the few as well who seems to have a bit of a relationship with Wirtz. They seem to be on a similar wavelength when it comes to, little 5-yard passes around the corner and keeping the ball. And it's kind of like they're both inclined to probe, in like little small spaces, nothing crazy. But it's like they've both got kind of like a five-a-side street football vibe about them, and they both benefit each other in that way. So hopefully Jones can come back into the team. But this is one of the problems. Jones, in reality, is probably Liverpool's fifth choice midfield. You've probably got Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, Wirtz, and McAllister all ahead of him. But because of how everyone's playing at the moment and because of what the team needs, Jones kind of is justified in playing. You need Jones on the pitch, but then you end up with really good players on the bench, and so it's quite messy.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be interesting. I'd say the keys next week at Anfield, just looking at that game, is that our defense is much better. So I think if you guys struggle, just based on what you're saying with ball progression, I think we might have a good time like pressing you guys. It sounds like teams can kind of get at you. We just played Barcelona, and put up one of the best performances any team has against Hansi Flick's Barcelona since he took over. I believe probably the worst expected goal difference for Barcelona, or one of the worst in a game, 3.6 to 1. We cooked them. So after seeing that, and Barcelona are good at circulating the ball. So I think we're going to have a fun time pressing Gravenberch, McAllister, kind of making you guys play hot potato. So that would be my expectation, especially because like that's the thing if your first phase isn't secure, then players like Isak and Ekitike, they go from being maybe press resistant or adding something to kind of just being disconnected from the team because there's just not enough going on. You need a sufficient floor of keeping the ball before they become more valuable. And I feel like you guys haven't got to the point where you're able to play it long and they hold it up and settle the game down for you guys. It's not quite there, if I'm not wrong. And I think the big thing for you guys could be just some teams try this, but I feel like what it would be is Isak. One of them has to play wide left, and one of them needs to be more central, like kind of like us with Vinny and Mbappe. Just stop. You can't let them play together in the half space if they don't know how to play together. That you're better off just keeping them apart. And I would go long to Isak and have him hold it up, maybe play faster. I feel like long while he's isolating against a fullback, just pressing back against him, trying to hold it up. I'm not saying that'll work, but I mean, that's just one way to go about it. But I feel like in our game, we're going to encourage more long balls, go after you, press you in the first phase. And in general, I'm just curious to see how you guys use your 200 million strikers together and transition or something.
Well, to be fair though, Liverpool have players who are really good in transition. So if Liverpool can beat the press, there's the likes of Ekitike in particular thrives in transition. He was really good in Frankfurt with that sort of thing. Salah has been denied space, it feels like, for most of the season. He would have that in transition. I think a lot of the problem has been just how direct teams have been against Liverpool. Just hitting over our press when we're pressing, using set pieces, using long throw-ins. I think that's been a problem. And I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I can't really see Real Madrid doing that against Liverpool.
You mean inviting your press and using it against you?
Will Real Madrid play through Liverpool or play over them?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think that's why I feel like last season we might have played through teams sometimes because we're so good. But a lot of times we playing fast. I guess like despite whatever they're doing, we would play fast. This year Alonso does tailor things to the other team a lot more. It's not just playing a fastball every time. So there are times in such games. Well, Alonso does try doing a lot of fixing now in a lot of games. What I mean by that is maybe you guys did it better last year, but what Man City do a lot, where they set up in your half, they play the winger very high and wide, and their shape is in a way where you don't want to jump on them too much. You kind of have to let them have the ball a little. Alonso's been trying to force teams to let us keep the ball more, and he's trying to force us to fix the team. And then Arda Güler ends up being the one who plays through. If we play through, it's because of Güler. We can play over. We don't play over with Trent yet. What's funny is Trent, that might be one of Trent's first games back into the lineup. It's really funny because
it will not be a good reaction at Anfield.
At Anfield at all.
No, it will not be good. I think he will know that as well. He's not stupid. And if he gets picked to play that game, if you're saying that he's being shy, I think he'll be terrible. To be honest, I think he'll have a bad game. I really do.
Listen, I would love to just see it because
I would love to see it as well, because the Anfield pitch is really close to the supporters, and he obviously plays as a right back, so he'd have nowhere to hide. It's not a good idea to play him. I would not play him if I was Xabi Alonso.
That's funny. I got to retitle this segment. Should Xabi Alonso play Trent? Question mark. But I think that's funny. Like, it is going to be a very angry reaction. And how much hatred is there? Is it because did he like tell you guys he's gonna like make it seem like he's gonna stay? Was it because once he left, was it emotional reaction on the pitch? There were so many clips floating around. I feel like Liverpool fans look for every reason. So what were the most valid reasons in your opinion?
Well, I don't think it'll ever go down well if any Scouser tries to leave Liverpool, because the perspective in Liverpool is you don't leave. The perspective in Liverpool is the absolute top of the sport is Liverpool. That there is no higher in our eyes. So why would any homegrown kid want to leave? And if you do leave, you're a bit of a traitor. That's the perspective. I understood it a bit more because you only get one career. He'd already won everything in England.
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool were in a healthy place,
Mm-hmm.
and he wants to try something new. So I understood it. What annoyed me a little bit was the way in which he went about it. I thought was a bit sneaky. He kind of made out that like it was a very tough decision, and he was undecided for a long period of time, and initially he made out that like, well, Jurgen Klopp's left, I want to see how Arne Slot gets on, and then Arne Slot does really well and he wins the league, and it doesn't make any difference anyway. There was the £10 million bid, I think, in the middle of the season when Liverpool were going for the title. That wasn't very good. That didn't benefit him at all. And he was the fact that he could speak unbelievable Spanish, by the time that he turned up for his press conference. In other words, he's been learning it for like at least a year. I think this is what it is with Scousers, especially people from Liverpool. We're not stupid, so please don't treat us like we're stupid. And if you try to pull the wool over our eyes, we will get really angry. Just be straight with us. Just be honest.
Yeah. And listen, I'm actually curious a little more. I was in Edinburgh, by the way, this summer, just briefly, and for a couple of weeks doing some interesting things. And I'm just very fascinated by football culture in England after that. Just like the tribalism, because Edinburgh, I was hearing I wasn't in Glasgow, but I was hearing all about all the football rivalry up there. And I know Newcastle wasn't far from the border, and the sheer tribalism and the idea of Liverpool being the pinnacle, it makes more sense now having visited recently. Just because football is just everything, like it's life, like it's everything. It's I find that whole culture fascinating, and I agree about the sneakiness. Like he did make it seem like that, and I think the other thing is that like if football's life and you're a Liverpool fan, you've accomplished everything except beating Real Madrid, and so it's like he joined the big villain. That's the pinnacle for you guys is beating us. Like the only thing left is like you guys. The difference between 3 and 1 Champions Leagues for you guys is us. So the difference, between, like the household dynastic name of the late 2010s on versus just another team that Real beat on their road to 6, who has won. Like we've beat a lot of teams that have won. But no, totally, that makes sense. And I guess what else would you say? Are you from the Liverpool area? Like, do you live there? Are you you're there now? Like in Liverpool?
Yeah.
Nice. So like Trent's brother too, is he hated as well for being his agent and like kind of orchestrating all that?
Yeah, I would say he's arguably hated more, to be honest. But yeah, I don't even want to get into that. That's probably not even worth getting into, to be honest.
What?
But
wait, you gotta you hate it even more than Trent. Come on, you can't say that and just leave him hanging.
Well, I think he's also no. It's not worth getting into. It's not worth getting into.
Like really not worth. All right, well, you have me curious, but yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, what else is anything else about the fan? I'm curious about the fan culture. How is like Liverpool's success the last years? Has it changed like Liverpool at all as a city? How would you say has it brought more glamour? Is there changed the vibe of the city, or has it always been Liverpool with just a better team now?
No, it's always been obsessive. I think maybe the difference has been Klopp in particular kind of reminded us who we were in a weird sort of way. He reminded us, like, even when we did quite well under Benitez and Gerard Houllier, it was doing well in a bit of a defensive way, if you get what I mean. Whereas people from Liverpool, we are quite bold, we're quite forward, front-footed, confident, loud in many ways. So I think Klopp's playing style really resonated with your typical Scouser who lives in Liverpool he was just he behaved like a Scouser, really. He was like having your dad in charge of your local team. And Liverpool achieved success in that like forward thinking, attacking, kind of brave kind of way. And I think it was a really appropriate representation of the city. I think now Liverpool are back on that pitch, I think is what we like to say, because we've now got the same number of Premier League titles as Man United. We've both got 20. Alex Ferguson, who used to manage Man United, made it his priority to get Man United in front of Liverpool with that. So now we're back level and stuff. So yeah, it's a good time to be a Liverpool fan. I'm not particularly worried long term. It's just short term. We have quite a few tactical problems that are a little bit self-inflicted because of the business that we've done.
Yeah, definitely. Any predictions for the game? I think we're gonna win at Anfield. It's just Alonso. We've got past some big tests, and is that one of the last games before the international break? Let me double check here. So we play Real Madrid, play Liverpool. Okay, we play once more before the international break. So second last game. Yeah, I'm expecting a win just because if you guys are losing to Brentford and all those teams, we're Real Madrid. You know how it goes. Like we have that.
Yeah, but one thing I would say on that is,
also we beat you 5-2. After that, we won another one of those.
Yeah, that was a different kind of team. That one, to be honest. What I would say is styles make fights. So when it comes to Brentford were just really equipped to deal with Liverpool right now. But Real Madrid could be a better stylistic match for us. Like Liverpool beat Arsenal, for example. Liverpool did very well against Arsenal. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Liverpool, I think, played twice before Real Madrid from today when we're recording. So if we win both games, it'll be a different kind of feel. As of right now,
you played Palace and Aston Villa though. Oh.
Yeah. I know.
Those are tough teams.
I think right now I would probably say maybe 3-1 Real Madrid. But I do. If you was to say to me now that Liverpool will actually win the game, I wouldn't even be that surprised. Just because of the stylistic thing with it. Yeah, I think Liverpool might be a bit better suited to facing a team like that. But we'll see. Yeah,
I think big games have a way of being closer. My understanding is Arsenal were a little like themselves were not the Arsenal we're seeing right now. And yeah, we'll wrap it up in a sec here. But yeah, I figured Arsenal would kind of like be better now, I assume, and we're growing as well, so it'll be interesting. I'm mostly curious to see how much you grow and how much you can get out of playing like Palace and Villa. It's a very tough Premier League, as you say. Honestly, if you had maybe confidence building fixtures, as soon as you said that, and I look at those games, I'm like, oh wow.
Well, the Palace game is in the Carabao Cup, so okay. I don't think I don't think everyone will play in that one. But it's not an ideal fixture, and obviously Aston Villa as well have just beat Manchester City the other day. So yeah, but this is the Premier League. The Premier League is really unforgiving, really hard. There's no easy games at all this season. There's not one team that is like they are really bad. Every single team is capable, and every single team is adaptable as well. So if you have any weakness, they will just target it immediately, and they won't try and do little nice building from the back or anything like that. They'll just target your weakness straight away. So yeah, it's a tough time. Yeah.
Excited to see how those games go. Carabao Cup, hopefully Isak gets his 90 so Ekitike can play the games that matter for now. But it will be fun to watch. Josh, thank you for coming on. You have a Substack and you have a bunch of things going, right? Anything the listeners should check out if you're interested in more Liverpool content from you?
Yeah, so my handle on every social media platform is @distancecovered. So just go and give me a follow. My Substack is distancecovered.substack.com. Again, it's following Liverpool, but in a bit of a tactical way. I like to think it's different to anything else out there. But yeah, give me a follow, and thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, and definitely look forward to chatting in the future. And we will see you guys all later. We will have plenty more on the show. And thank you all for tuning in. I'm ending the stream here.